literary salon. Asma has asked me to tell the story of ikat, the timeless, beautiful textile from the ancient Silk Road, which are used in my fashion and furniture designs. I've always been fascinated by not only ikat, by how the flower of a thorny cotton plant can be transformed into yarn, and by how wild and woolly hair of a sheep or camel can become our sweaters. And perhaps the most amazing thing for me is the magical metamorphosis of the silkworm, whose cocoon is transformed either into butterfly or, if boiled, into silk threads and yarn. Let's look at this is a very short footage of the silkworm transformation into silk yarn that I shot in Jim Thompson Museum in Bangkok.
Is noodles. No. Anybody English? English? No, they wouldn't die. Your hands are shot, Eddie. I think he's making yarn. But where are they? Still there. Make more sense.
I have a cocoon with me here. Can any one of you tell me how many meters of silk threads are produced from this tiny cocoon? Do you know how many meters of silk? No? No. No more. 1,000 meter. 1,000 meter of silk thread is produced from this tiny cocoon. My enthusiasm for all kinds of textile, and specifically for ikat, which I've collected for years, stems from my love of color and handloom textile. To me, ikat, regardless of its form and origin, is what I call textile painting created by unknown artists. The first ikat I ever saw was my grandmother's chapan, or traditional Uzbek coat, that she only displayed on special occasions like Nowruz or Persian New Year. I think you see the image here, but I've also brought you a chapan. You can look.
You talk, I will.
This is an antique chapan that I bought in Afghanistan, that they brought it from Uzbekistan. And if you look at the details, it's all hand-stitched. And this is my source of inspiration for creating my coats with new ikat fabric. The way they border it, the way they lining, and the details under the arms is my size. It's so tiny. Ikat is not the name of the fabric, but the name of an ancient technique of weaving by hand. The word ikat comes from the Malaysian word mengikat, meaning to tie or to tie-dye, because the loose threads are tied into bundles using grasses or wax-treated cotton to identify the points in the thread that can be dipped into dye. This means that the weaver has to figure out which parts of the loose threads or yarn should or should not be dipped into the color in order for it to form the proper pattern. We're going to look at another short clip, an Indian family weaving ikat. The process of creating a card gets more complicated as more colors are introduced. The more colors there are, the greater the value of a card. There are normally 4 or 5 colors in more sophisticated ikat, which is produced in cotton, silk, or velvet, or combination of those materials. I have samples here. This is Uzbek ikat. It's just cotton, simple cotton, but mostly organic cotton, because in Uzbekistan they use organic material. This is silk cotton, and you can see there are more than 5 colors in this, and it's so soft and velvety, it's just gorgeous. And we have velvet cotton, again, Uzbek cotton. This is velvet. The velvet is really extraordinary, it's so beautiful. And the combination is silk and cotton, which is called adras. I have just one piece here. This is silk and cotton, the combination of cotton and silk. Can I give it to you? Thank you. There are 2 kinds of ikat, single and double. Single ikat is made by dyeing either the warp threads, the fixed yarn attached to the loom, or the weft threads, the yarn that is actually woven in and out of the warp threads. But in a more challenging and time-consuming ikat, known as patula or double ikat, both the warp and the weft threads are dyed. Double ikat is rare because of the intensive skilled labor required to produce it. On a recent trip to Gujarat in Western India in search of both ikat and double ikat, I traveled 2.5 hours from Ahmedabad to Patan, the ancestral home and workshop of the Salvi family. They are the only family who has been creating double ikat ever since the 11th century. Long ago, their textiles were worn by kings to worship God. That's why they call it holy textile. Today, only rich families and Bollywood stars like Amitabh Bachchan can afford double ikat. An antique Patan patula from the Salvi family is in the collection of London's Victoria and Albert Museum and other museums worldwide. Let's look at this clip that I shot visiting their museum and their workshop. They're aligning the design. They're not weaving it. They've already woven it, but now they are aligning the design. They're all members of the family. There's no one from outside. Only families allowed. The motifs of Patan Patula, or double ikat, have rarely changed in 10 centuries. They are mainly floral and basket patterns, which are called manikchok, or else square patterns that are called narikunjar. In each square, there is usually a peacock, elephant, tree, or dancing dolls. So I have the privilege of having double ikat with me here. This is the narikunjar, which is with, there are squares. Here we have only two designs, the peacock and the elephant. We don't have the dancing doll and the tree. And if you look at the back and front, is exactly the same. Bright colors, beautiful, and it looks like pixelated. And this is basket design, the masterpiece. Really, this is gorgeous. I just want to worship this fabric. It's so beautiful. The Salvi family's designs have often been copied in India, and it's not uncommon to find sellers who falsely claim their Patan Patula is original, but only the double ikat crafted by the Salvi family is authentic. However, other imaginative, crazy, and creative Indian weavers have now worked to bring ikat to a new level. They use the motifs of patula, but the technique of brocade, which is the specialty of Banaras. So the result becomes a combination of ikat and brocade that I like to call brokat. And I have it here. Oh, I dropped my papers. This you have to see because it's so gorgeous. And in this is the Patan Patula design. You can see the squares,
Okay,
the
listen, you
elephants,
speak.
the dancing dolls. But show the back side because it shows the brocade in the back. All with silver and gold.
Get you the mic here.
Okay, take this.
It's not about me, it's about the fabric.
What is this one now?
This is brocade, but with double ikat design. It's not double ikat, but it's hand woven. It's hand loomed with real gold threads. Despite the complexity of weaving handloom ikat, the technique seems to have developed independently across many different countries, cultures, and continents, at least since the Middle Ages, in places like pre-Columbian Peru and Guatemala. This is a Guatemala ikat. 10th century Yemen. This is antique ikat from Yemen. I don't know if they're still weaving it or not, but this is very old. Japan, where ikat is known as kasuri design, but in Japan the design is very minimal and they use only two colors, navy blue and white. I have a sample here too. This is Japanese ikat, only two colors. And this is Chinese ikat, but I don't think this is woven into the fabric. It's, they weave the material and then print the image on it. So it's not woven ikat, but it's the design of ikat. Indonesia, where ikat is known as geringsing. This is Indonesian. In India, there are many kinds of ikat, and the dress I'm wearing indicates the different ikats from India. So you can see 4 different kinds of ikat in my dress. This is Pachampali ikat from the region of a village, Pachampali village. This is Orissa from Orissa, which is very similar to Uzbek design. Inside is Sambalpuri ikat, the lining. And what you see on this part is the single ikat, but the design of double ikat. Again, the elephant, the peacock, the dancing doll, and the plant or the tree. Western cultures have tried for centuries to produce ikat. The technique and textiles first arrived in Europe via Dutch traders in South Asia and Spanish explorers in South America, and from travelers alongside the Silk Road, where the Uzbek ikat centers of Samarkand and Bukhara were important spots. The 18th century France silk producers, seeking an exotic look, manufactured a taffeta ikat known as chine à la branche, the favorite textile of Marie Antoinette, who liked it because she thought it was exotic. Yes, this is French ikat. More recently, Western designers such as American Oscar de la Renta used ikat for his 2005 collection. He's used Uzbek ikat from Bukhara. And this is a beautiful trench. The colors are so bright and bold. It's just gorgeous. More recently, Western designer, I told that. Most Westerners, though, use ikat for cushions and furniture. This is my own design. It's an antique ikat that I've mixed with Egyptian fabric with poetry, Khayyam poetry on it. And the next one, the cushions. And these are the cushions that Asma has plenty of. The last time I visited my ikat supplier in Istanbul, I learned that he no longer had many traditional and multicolored, intricate designs in stock. He explained that nowadays the weavers in Uzbekistan and elsewhere in Central Asia are simplifying the complex designs and minimizing the numbers of colors because it's easier and faster to make simple ikat. And I'm going to show you the difference. This is the traditional Uzbek ikat. It's silk and it's called almond design. But you can see there are 4 colors and how intricate and how beautiful it is. And this is the new version, very commercial version. Only 2 colors done in a very sloppy way. So in a way, ikat is a dying art. I don't know what happened to my rest of my fabric. I also found out that the weavers are using block print or laser print instead of weaving the patterns into the fabric. Does anyone know how to tell the difference between authentic ikat and fake ikat? Do you know how to tell the difference? Imagine you're in Istanbul or Uzbekistan, you're buying ikat and everybody's telling you it's authentic. How do you test it? Okay, the first thing is that the image should be blurry, as if it's foggy or out of focus or pixelated, like this. Like this. You see, it's not, the lines are not perfect, so it seems foggy and cloudy, as they say. And then the second test, you need to look at the back and front to make sure the design is exactly the same and identical. If you look at this one, you see there is no front and back. It's the same. But look at this one. This is big time fake. Look at this. You see, this is print and very lousy. They have imitated a very traditional Uzbek design, which is called earring. This is the earring design. But the color is bad, the textile is bad, it's not real cotton, it's synthetic. And the last test, when it comes to Uzbek Uzbek ikat, the width is very narrow. You can see it's very narrow. So if you want to make a coat or a dress, you have to buy at least 10, 12 meters of this fabric. And you have to align the design on each side. So you end up wasting a lot of fabric. So the width should be like this size. But in Indian and Indonesian or Thai ikat, it's wider because they use it for a skirt or for sari. In 2011, when I traveled to Uzbekistan to visit the ancient Silk Road cities of Bukhara and Samarkand, I discovered what authentic ikat really was and how highly people of these cities and places valued it. I learned it was customary to wear ikat robes and coats only for New Year's festivities or weddings, and that mothers would buy and collect the best ikat as dowry for their children, for their daughters. Within the cultures that produce ikat, weaving it became a status symbol because of the great skill, the extended length of time, and the complexity necessary for its production. In India, one of the main ikat producing countries, the significance of handloom ikat is even greater, for it is believed that in ancient times, kings wore ikat to worship their gods. Therefore, they call ikat holy textile. Ikat is indeed timeless, a holy textile, which is woven by the heart and spun by the soul. That's it.
Thank you, Nazzy. That was amazing. And the material you have, it's, breathtaking. Anybody will want to have a question?
I have a question. First of all, I love you too much. You know that.
Me too.
Second of all, I love you and your husband.
The same, it's mutual. Thank you.
The third, it's honor you and Mr. Peter to be in Al-Multaqa. And really, really, you are a good friend for us. Always, I love your design. I am admire your design and always on what you do, and
yes,
you change my mind. You change to love colors and to wear colors, and you change me completely what I decide. First, because you are a journalist and you different way. You've been in many dangerous places, and you see black and white. Never you see black, always black. You see all.
Color, I love color.
But how you change to color? Is it affecting from what you see it in Afghanistan and what you see on, or when you are someone corresponding all the war place? Is it affecting you to be shifting to another style?
But they always say diversify your identity. In the old times, the kings always taught their children many things like carpentry, philosophy, poetry, because they thought if one day he needs to do something else, he should learn a skill. And that has always been my motto. I think you should diversify your identity. You should learn so many things because, first of all, it gives you perspective in life, and you appreciate it. It's boring to do one thing in life. You become one-dimensional, and since I'm multicultural, I'm coming from different cultures, different parents, so for me it's natural to learn, to do different things. And even when I was working as a correspondent, every time I traveled to war zone, I would always find time to go to textile shops or to studios, to artist studios, to learn and to buy, to collect. So I think it's a good thing to have passion and turn that passion possibly into business.
Yes. Okay, good luck, inshallah.
Yes, this.
Thank you, Nazzy, for an interesting subject. My question, my comment first. You have a beautiful way of mixing the authentic pieces with the modern way we wear it. And not so many people know how to do this art. So I believe by doing this, you are introducing the heritage of the ikat textile into our modern life and continue the culture. So when your question is how to maintain the ikat industry, because it's a it looks like a labor intensive, and before they use probably natural colors. That's why it's sustainable. The material does last for long. So I am just asking you, how do you view the continuity of such manufacturer or the industry of the ikat, especially that everything is going into mechanism and all that. So how to maintain it and then produce something that keep the heritage but in a modern way?
That's very true. I mean, mixing it reflects my own identity because I'm mixed, so I wear mixed prints. In a way, it reflects really my philosophy and my view of life. But also, how to preserve this, unfortunately, it's a dying skill because normally the family of weavers produce these ikats, whether it's India, whether it's in Thailand, whether it's in Uzbekistan or Indonesia. These are single families, so they're really small, tiny families. Like there was a lady in Bukhara. She was my supplier, and her business was really dying. She couldn't produce more, and I started buying more, and she got encouraged. So she produced more. She produced more traditional designs. But unfortunately, the problem in Uzbekistan is still the mentality of Soviet time, and they don't know how to do business. I remember I ordered fabric. She couldn't ship it to me, so she sent it with someone traveling to Dubai. And I had to meet this person in Dubai Mall, in the busiest place. And she came with a, cheap plastic bag, all this precious ikat in a cheap plastic bag, and she wanted only cash. And I thought if the security is watching me, giving her cash and getting a plastic bag, they would think I'm a drug dealer. So really, they don't know how to do business. So I discontinued working with her. Now I'm working with suppliers in Istanbul who produce in Uzbekistan, and they bring it to Turkey. Yeah, by just buying it, wearing it, modernizing it, you don't have to wear ikat like chapan like that. But you need to modernizing it, mixing it with other fabrics. Like, we don't want to look folklore head to toe. If you wear something like ikat head to toe, you will look as if you're a part of folklore dance company. But you want to modernize, you want to mix it with the sneakers, you want to make it look contemporary. So that's how I think, put feathers. Yes, I know, you had the first one.
Oh, thank you so much. It was like combination between the last question. So can you do like some kind of campaign with the UNESCO maybe to keep this kind of heritage and this kind of art maybe? And the other thing, I know I can use this kind of stuff like a scarf, for example. So do you think about doing it's not only like small things, you can do like a fashion house for this kind of art? It would be encourageable.
You can do so many things with it, as long as you have support, you have investors, and these days you need a celebrity to wear your clothes so you become famous or you draw attention to that. If one day, like Angelina Jolie wears ikat, everybody is going to go gaga over ikat. Unfortunately, that is the case. That's how the publicity is these days. I'm doing it this shwaya in my own way by using ikat, different kinds of. My production is only ikat. And there isn't any design you don't find ikat in it, even if it is tiny bit. So this is my way of supporting the weavers.
And you didn't think to go to UNESCO, for example, to try to make an international campaign for this kind of thing?
Yeah, you can do so many things, as I said, but you really need support. You need to have connection, you need financial backing, you need a lot of support for that. But it can be done, it can be done. There's nothing possible.
Anybody for any questions? Thank you very much, Nazzy, for such an inspiring lecture. And I would like to add that Nazzy is going to exhibit her stuff in Ataya, which will start when, Suad?
On Sunday.
On Sunday.
For 5 days.
So for 5 days, you can see her style, you can buy from it, you know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nazzy.
Again, Asma, thank you so much. Thank you, Hanifa.